Hi there, I'm Chef Scott Blackerby. A lot of times whenever we talk about culinary, kitchen, things of that nature, we're talking about plate presentation, how to make things, how to build menus and things of that nature. All the previous videos I've ever done have all kind of lent themselves to what most people think of as a chef, somebody that's building a good plate. Today we're going to look at something a little bit different. We're going to do a little bit of culinary math, and the purpose behind this is to understand that a chef's job is not just to make beautiful dishes. That's obviously one very important aspect of it. It's something that should never be thought of as unimportant. But there are other jobs like scheduling, portion control, purchasing, waste control, things of that nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series on culinary math topics to kind of present whoever the viewer is with ideas behind how do we predict things? How do we, learn from our mistakes? So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at a scenario based on kind of something that I've experienced in the past, and we're going to use that experience to help us guide us to the next event, okay? So I've got a problem behind you, and I'm going to read it because you may not be able to read it. It says, predicting service quantities. Problem. You have a group coming up that has a guest count of 350. That's 350 people. The style of service is buffet, and they want chicken piccata. In thinking about how I'm going to make this buffet, I decided, well, I'll just cut it in half, and I'll just make 175 pounds since 8 ounces is about, a normal portion, right, of chicken breasts. So after the party, you weigh the extra portion and determine that you have 38 pounds of wasted chicken. Next week, you'll have another group of 285. How much will you need to prepare using the numbers from this event? So the idea behind it is we made a mistake. Okay, we overshot it a little bit. We made too much. Obviously, better than not making enough. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this information, and we're going to determine a way to predict the next time that we do an event. Okay, so I want to look at some numbers here. So we've got 350 is what we have. So I'm going to put this off to the side. All right. I've got 285, that's going to be the new one. So I'm going to create a ratio. All right, so 350 divided by 285. All right. And so it tells me that I've got, I used 175 pounds this time, and I went over. So I'm going to go 175 minus 38, and that's going to tell me the difference, what I actually needed. All right, so 175 minus 38. And that tells me in actuality I used 137. Okay, 137 pounds. So I'm going to go back to my little simple math here, and I'm going to place 137 up here at the top. Now, the missing value that I don't know is x. Okay, so I'm a math teacher too, so I'm going to use variables for things like this. So I'm going to use something called the cross products property. Okay, basically states that opposites should multiply to create equal values, otherwise you don't have a proportion. Okay, let's take a look here. If I take 200, and I use a calculator, if I take 285 and I multiply it times 137, I get 39,045. Of course, when I take and multiply anything times x, I have a coefficient of 350. Multiply that times x, I get 350x. All right? All right? So the last step is I'm solving for x. I want to know how much I need to prepare for this party. So I'm going to divide both sides by 350. So I take 39,045 divided by 350. And that tells me that I need approximately 111.55. So about 111 and a half pounds for this party. Right here. This is the number I will need. Based on a mistake that I made, and using simple math. Now, there's lots of ways you can calculate this. I use proportions because when you use proportions, it's a consistent model that's used in math all the time. And I can use this, I can plug, once I know these two numbers, these two top numbers right here, I'm going to circle them. Once I know these two numbers, and like I said, learn from our mistakes, no big deal. Then I can plug any number in, use a simple model, and calculate every single time. So I'm going to start doing a series on predicting things, how to reduce wastage, how to use chef math or culinary math to try to predict how much food I'm going to need for certain parties. Now, if it's a plate up, that's obviously going to be a little bit easier. If it's 285, I can kind of plan that one out. But buffets are tough, you know, and they do require a little bit of math. So it's important to understand that whenever a person goes into the culinary field, they're not just going in to just make pretty dishes. I mean, like I said, that is an important part of the job, but it is not the only part of the job. And it's important to understand that being a chef, you're also running a business. All right, you also are trying to keep the lights on.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What if they just guess the number of the party? They don't know it. Then you get something wrong. What would you do if you did something wrong, like they just guessed the number of their party?
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, what do you do wrong? Well, first thing you do is you don't guess. You try to use the best math you can to come up with the best answer. Obviously, the person that did this was using some type of logic and reason. I mean, it's not like they just made 500 pounds of chicken. That would have been unreasonable. So you can kind of understand where they came up with the number 175. I mean, it's obviously 8 ounces of chicken is pretty average, but they overshot it. And you don't want to overshoot. You know, 38 pounds of chicken's a lot. It's expensive. You didn't need that much. The second part of your question is you want to use math to try to predict the best way you can. Now, so if that says 111.55, I might round that up to 112 or even 113, just to make sure. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. But I'm not saying what does the chef guesses? Like, what if it was a party and the lead person of it guesses the number because they don't know the number.
Oh, that's a great question.
They don't know the party of the party, and they don't mention that, and you get the number wrong. What would you do?
That's happened. That's why a lot of these banquets now, they have contracts. So whenever you sign a contract, it means you're guaranteeing this is the number. So if there ends up being a lot more than that, then you're not responsible for that. You being the chef. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. We're going to do more videos like this, and I hope you enjoy them. I hope you get something out of them. But we're gonna branch out beyond just cooking. Okay. We want to show the entire culinary industry as a whole, and we really appreciate it. Owen's my junior chef here, so he's always excited to join us. Anyway, thank you so much. Have a great night.